The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again.
Pete, I gotta ask you this, bro, because listen, I would assume, I'm gonna make an assumption here, but I think I'm pretty safe making an assumption, okay? You two growing up, you know, about 14, 15 years old, you become friends with Shane. Bro, you were two very big guys. Rodney had a freaking attitude. Rodney's the kind of guy, he's going to go out. He's the kind of guy. And Shane was kind of like this way, too. I imagine, bro, those are the kind of guys that are going to go out looking for a fight. I don't see you being that way, but I could assume there were a lot of fights involved with the threes. But my point is this, bro. When you're hanging around Shane and you're big guys, you're aggressive guys, you're good-looking guys, I mean, bro, come on. You were really in a tough spot because let's face it, in the back of your minds, you and Rodney, you probably wanted a shot at this thing. But on the other side of the coin, you're in a tough spot where you really can't say anything, and it's almost got to come from somebody else, which was like Vince Russo, where I saw you guys, and I'm like, are you guys freaking kidding me? Like, because even Shane was in a spot where, like, I can't recommend my buddies. Right. So is that part of it pretty accurate?
It's very accurate. I actually, when I was so this happened, I was 28, about to turn 29 when this whole deal went down. When I was 23, now I had watched wrestling since 1979. I used to be on Channel 9.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Try to stay awake. I used to want to watch this big blonde-haired guy who's Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
You know, I was doing my best to stay up as a 9-year-old kid. Always involved with wrestling. Always knew who Shane was. Always knew who Vince was growing up because I went to a different junior high school than Rodney and Shane went to one, and I went to a rival one. As time went on, you know, I used to watch wrestling and try to figure, like, I watched how guys sold. I watched it. I didn't know what the terminology was, but I watched how a guy. I knew it was a work, you know. So I actually, at 23 years old, I went to Shane's office, and I said, "Hey, Shane. Listen, I know I'm not in the best shape right now because I wasn't in shape when I started at 28, you know. I said, but I want to get involved. I'd like to try getting in the ring." And I'll never forget it. We're in Shane's office, and he says, "You don't want to do this." He says, "You don't." He says, the odds of you making it, he goes, "Pete, I can't." He basically was telling me, "I can't give you favoritism because of who you are." But I said, I just want to contact. I just want to push me in the right direction. He goes, "You got to pay your dues." He says, you don't understand. You're going to go work for $25 a night. He goes, you can't have a job because you got to leave early. You got to leave early to go to whatever city, to whatever town you're working in, say in Memphis, set up a ring. Then you got to take the ring down at the end of the night. You got to hope. He goes, "They treat you like shit." He basically did everything he could to tell me he's not going to help me. Excuse me. So anyway, so I went, and he kind of shied me away, but ironically, I ended up in Memphis working. I mean, then again, we were getting paid by WWE at the time as a developmental deal, but we got the opportunity to work in Memphis after all. So it was funny though. I tried to do it. I wanted to do it. I went and spoke to him a couple times about it. Every time I went to talk about it, he shot me down. But eventually we got in there.
Yeah, I mean, Pete, it's a tough spot, especially the way it ended. When he told you flat out, we couldn't show favoritism, this and that. So with that being said, Pete, do you think it was more of a help or more of a hindrance being that tight with Shane? Because one way or another, positive or negative, it was going to have a huge effect on your career.
Vince, I truly believe this. Not in every scenario in life, but for wrestling, the glass is half full. No question. It's definitely a good thing having someone like that in your corner. When you think about it, it never would have happened. My life is always affected because of wrestling. It's affected in a positive manner. You know, I think I told you through Twitter that I'm writing a book. It's a biography of what happened. It goes from being friends with Shane. That's hopefully coming out next year. Being friends with Shane through wrestling, stories about being on the road. It's a fun read. JBL is doing he did the forward.
Mm-hmm.
He read the book. He loves it. He told me I got the stories dead on. But, everything that happened, I get it. Like, he's in a tough spot. He did what he did for us is a gift that I could never repay him. There's nothing I could do to repay him. He gave me the best, and I told him this at the handshake. Thank you for the best 3 years of my life, and I truly meant that. Who else could get to do something amazing? What percentage of wrestlers all over the world get that shot? And was it because of our friendship? Yeah, it was. Which brings me to another point. All these fans, they're fans. They all know the business, right? They all shit on the Mean Street Posse, right? But I would love to see how many people can come off the street, be thrown in a ring.
Are you kidding me, bro? Come on.
Be thrown into a ring and being asked to put over the best in the business. And that, I think, these true wrestling fans that I mentioned, if they had a true understanding about what it's like to go in there, not want to get hurt, definitely not. I would rather get hurt than have someone else get hurt. I couldn't live with that. The whole thing with like draws, that would have put me in a mental institution. I swear to God.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to have the opportunity to come off the street, be told by you, Vince, and whoever else, go in there, wrestle for 8 minutes, 10 minutes, put this guy over, and by the way, don't get killed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But, Pete, I want to make this perfectly clear to everybody, and I'm not saying this to put me over. I'm saying this because I want to make it clear to get you and Rodney over. You working for the WWE was not your buddy putting you through. If people think that, they are 1,000% wrong. You guys were just supposed to be cutting a vignette. That was it. Bro, Shane mentioned you guys to me like in passing. Passing. And that's why I suggested let's do a package. Let's get vignettes from them. And, bro, I'm not exaggerating. When I was watching at home and the way your personality came through and Rodney so arrogant, so smug, I literally, bro, I can remember sitting there saying, are you freaking kidding me? These guys need to be on TV tomorrow. And, Pete, I swear to you, swear on my children, the thought of me like wanting to get points with Shane, like, bro, did not come into the equation at all. I saw two freaking great characters. Bro, I saw Briscoe at a convention like a couple of weeks ago, and I said to him, Jerry, I'm telling you, I'm not even kidding you. The stuff with you and Pat in the posse was like the most enjoyable moments while I was at the WWE. Because, bro, from your perspective and their perspective, it was so real. You know what I mean? I mean, we had these two smug, rich kids, friends of Shane, wouldn't know a wristwatch from a wrist lock. And we had these two, Gerald Briscoe, the collegiate wrestler, and Pat. I mean, my God, I don't know if it could get any better than that. But I want to make it clear, bro, to everybody. You getting in and getting on that roster had nothing to do with Shane putting you through.
Right. Yeah. That's good. I didn't know that. To be honest with you, I knew it's never just one person's decision on that, but I didn't know that. So I thank you very much.
But Pete, I got to tell you something that I'm sitting here feeling, and I'll tell you why I'm feeling it, Pete, because I don't lie to anybody. I'm going through much of the same. Okay. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just kind of getting a little bit of a vibe. Like, I'm kind of feeling like a little bit of a void in you about, like, you know what? I had more time. I could have done more. I wish I would have done more. I'm kind of getting, bro, I feel the same way. Bro, I'm going to be honest with you, Pete. The ratings have gotten to such a terrible point. Pete, I reached out to Vince McMahon through email. And I was like, listen, bro, this isn't about Vince Russo needing a job, Vince Russo needing money. This isn't about that. This is about, I know where we were. And I see where you are now, and it breaks my freaking heart. And I don't want to be the guy on the outside that, I've got to criticize it now because it's my job, and people think it's, because I'm bitter and this and that. I don't want to be that guy. Right. I want to be part of the solution. So, I've reached out to Vince, and I'm like, bro, I'm willing to help you any way I can. Obviously, bro, you know Vince better than anybody between his pride and the ego and all that. Vince McMahon is the last man on the face of the planet that is going to say, I need help. And I totally get that. But, yeah, bro, there is a huge void in me. I look at what's happening now, and I know I can still contribute and make it better. I know you've gone on to be very, very successful in business, bro, but I'm still getting a sense from you like there's a little bit of a hole. Am I right?
I think that's one of the hardest things about being in that business at any point. You form a love for it, and then it's hard to say goodbye. I mean, that's one of the things that the money's great. I'm not gonna lie. I used to wake up every morning and be like, well, what am I doing now? I wonder who I'm working tonight. I wonder what I'm doing. I couldn't wait to get to the gym, work out, and it became a whole lifestyle that I just embraced. But there was a lot of things that, because I almost wanted to someday go back to prove that it wasn't it was one of those things where we belonged. Mm-hmm. We actually, at the end of the day, did belong. And I think to go off on a little thing, when we first got there, some of the boys were nice to us because of Shane. It is what it is. Then there was guys that didn't so much. I've talked in length to Bradshaw, and this is in my book, how Bradshaw said I earned his respect the time I took that chair shot. There was a chair shot on Monday Night Raw. He wrapped it around my head like a Fred Flintstone cartoon. And we went backstage, and he was expecting me to be hot at him. And I stuck my hand out, and I said, thank you. Because that's what wrestlers do. You thank someone for keeping you safe. So that was my way of saying, I can handle it, And that was, so it's those things. Were we always treated like talent? No. Did we have? We weren't given the opportunity to buy stock options when it went public. We were never one of those. We specifically weren't allowed to do that. We never had T-shirts. They did T-shirts for us. We never had. They designed T-shirts. They never approved them because they were worried about favoritism. We couldn't have dolls like action figures because it's the same reason. Now. A guy's there for a cup of coffee, and he's got action figures. He's got all sorts of stuff. Which maybe it's because it's a different business, whatever the case is. There's certain things. So my wife, that we talked about earlier, she has never seen me wrestle. Back in June at Citi Field, I ran into I got to wrestle in Legends of the Ring. Brian Knobs was one of the guys running the thing. He got me involved in a match. So my wife got to see me. Backstage was Tommy Dreamer. Mm-hmm. So I come back from my match, pretty happy. Broke my ass for a few weeks to try to get into get some kind of wind going. I was doing burpees, without having a ring or anyone to wrestle. It's kind of hard to get ready for a match, but I felt like I was as good as I was going to get for that match. Excuse me. Come to the match. And come back from the match, go inside, towel off, and Dreamer says, Pete, can I talk to you for a second? I said, yeah, sure. He goes, how long has it been since you've been in the ring? I said, their 15-year Raw anniversary, they brought me in for, a battle royal. He goes, but what about a match? I said, Tommy, I said, I don't know, 10 years? He said, I'm going to tell you something. He said, you looked like you never missed a beat. He said you had no ring rust. You were sharp.
So like I said, I feed off positive positive comments. And I said to him, I thought he was ribbing me. And I go, come on. I go, you're ribbing. He goes, Pete, I don't kid about this. He says, I'm not kidding you. You can still do this at that level. And I was blown away. But I couldn't believe it. I called my wife, who was sitting in the crowd. I met over, and I was like a kid in a candy store, because I respect Tommy so much and his opinions and what he said. And so I let it go. Next day, Shane calls me, and he says, now he knew about it, because I called him. I was like, hey, what do you recommend? What should I do to get ready for this thing? He's like, I'll do burpees, go do this, do that.
What's a burpee?
A burpee is when you kind of run it in place, and then you drop, and you do like a drop down.
Okay.
You let your chest and everything hit the ground, and then it's like a whole thing. So you're running, you get a little cardio, and then you're getting that you hit the ground. So you kind of getting used to hitting something and getting your weight, that stuff like that.
Okay.
And there's different versions of it. There's also mountain climbers where you're on all fours and you kind of bringing your knees to your chest. There's all sorts of things you could do to get yourself prepared.
Okay.
So Shane tells me, how'd it go? And I said, it went good. I said, he goes, yeah. He goes, I got a phone call. I go, from who? He goes, Dreamer. He goes, I'm proud of you. He goes, Dreamer told me, he's like, you nailed it. He said, looks like you could still go. So to me, I was like, I was happier than hell. I was floating on air, because to me, it was like, I always say when people bring it up, Vince, I talk about wrestling all the time. Someone always wants, a customer, anyone, people always want to talk about wrestling, the state of wrestling now, what it was like back then. People always trying to find out different things. And to know that they think that someone of that type of person, like a Dreamer who evaluates talent, and it did it for ECW and all that, to think that I could still work, it makes me feel good. But yeah, you're right. There is a hole there.
But Pete, let me ask you this: where is that? I still want to prove myself. I still want to show that I belong, that I deserve to be there, whether I was friends with Shane or not. Where does that come from, Pete? Does that come from the internet? These people that have never done anything in their lives? I mean, where does that come from? The reason why I'm asking you is because you did do it on your... Bro, listen, you were two guys off the street. If it would have been a fart in church, we would have seen you one time, and that would have been the end of it. You think Vince McMahon... if you were his flesh and blood, if it was a bomb on TV, you think Vince McMahon would have let that go on his show? I mean, without a question, bro. You guys were a huge part of it. Shane had nothing to do with it. You did it on your own. You would not have been on TV if that's not the case. So, like, where does that come from?
It just comes from wanting it. I guess I had such a love for it. It was almost like we worked so hard. Like I said, we got thrown into this thing not knowing anything. We broke our butts. Literally, we ate, slept, everything was wrestling. To dedicate yourself, to get to a level where you think you're actually there, and then you're being told, listen, we can't use you. There's nowhere else to go. That's a business decision. I get it. But me personally, I felt like I had something to prove. I felt like, and I still do sometimes, I'm in a good place now. When I remember starting the job I work now, there was a girl training me and stuff, and she said, why do you talk down on this job? Because we'd be in front of clients or customers, whoever. And they knew I'm sitting there. They're like, oh, you were on television. The people knew sitting across. And I'm like, yeah, now I'm selling pencils. I sell office supplies and furniture, stuff like that. And I was downplaying what I did now, almost like I was embarrassed to take that step down. Because it wasn't that I was embarrassed for what I was doing, because I make a very good living doing what I'm doing. I got a lot of big accounts. I love what I do every day now. I just embrace everything I do it the right way. But to me, like you said, there's a void. Come on, I'm
Yeah, but I think, Pete, I'd like to know that void is you missing it, which I totally get.
Yeah.
Opposed to I've got something to prove, because I don't think you have anything to prove to anybody. That's what I'm saying. I totally understand the void, bro. I'm suffering that same void. You can't go out and find something else to do that's going to fill that void. I mean,
Right.
you just can't. There's nothing like it. So I totally get that. But again, I just hope it isn't that. I got something. You don't, bro, because you have not you know. I came, I saw, I conquered. I mean, basically, like that's what you did. So I just hope that there isn't that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it is, though. I mean, and I thank you for those. That's a compliment to say that I conquered. But for me, I didn't conquer it. To me, it was like, to me, it was kind of like I was.
Wait, Pete. Let me stop. I hate to interrupt you. I hate to interrupt you. You know wrestling, bro. And let's face it, Pete. You can probably control about 10% of what goes on in your career, if that. You're lucky if you can control 10%, bro. I don't even know if it's that.
Right.
So when you say you conquered, okay, bro, all you can do as a performer is go out in the ring every single night and do the best you possibly can. That's all you can control. You can't control. And, bro, you of all people, do not sit there and tell me you did not go out there and do that every night.
I did, but what I'm saying, but hold on, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, when you're at this level, when you start, and then you're at this level, and meanwhile, you're getting better every week. You're getting better, and now the pinnacle's here. I started here. I'm right about here, a mid-card guy. To me, all I had was a certain amount of ability. Okay, so I took advantage of it, and I thank you again for that compliment. But to me, the sky was the limit. I'm not saying.
Can I stop you again right there, Pete? I have to stop you, bro, because I have ADD, and if I don't stop you, I'll forget what I was going to say. How can you sit there and say the sky was the limit when 10 minutes ago you're telling me they can't make dolls because of they can't, we didn't have a t-shirt. Obviously you guys were being held back because of the situation, and they didn't want to show favoritism. That's obvious. So how can you match that up with the sky was the limit when you're handcuffed of, you know what, we're only going to go so far because of this nepotism thing, and we're Shane's buddies, and that's why they're being pushed. How was the sky the limit?
Well, agreed. But the point, maybe part of that void, now that we're analyzing this whole thing, because I really haven't analyzed it that much.
But what am I, Dr. Phil over here with you, Pete? What's going on over here, bro?
The thing about it is, the void is maybe I didn't prove that I in my mind that I meant to, that we would belong there, because that's what we tried to do. And there's a story out. There's a story that Mick Foley tells, and I think it was in one of his books, where we had a match where he had to hit us with chairs. And I know the match. He was supposed to face Shane, and we came in, and he hit all three of us with chairs. And backstage, when we were going over the match, we knew we were going to get hit with the chairs. I said to Mick, because we were trying to earn our keep, earn our respect. If you earn your respect with the boys, then my feeling is you're earning the respect with the rest of the company. Mm-hmm. Then maybe not only are we, you want that respect. You know this business. It's all about respect. Maybe once that respect comes, maybe a doll shows up. Maybe a t-shirt. You know what I mean? Maybe those things start to come. So I told Mick before that match, and I meant every bit of it. I said, hey, Mick, I told him, I said, we're trying to earn respect around here. So when that chair shot comes, lay it in. So Mick Foley says in his book, I laid it in. You know, that's what we did because we didn't pay our dues like everyone else. Stone Cold, God bless him. He went, he worked, he lived on pounds of potatoes. Everyone knows the story. They all paid their dues. We had to pay our dues in a different way. And if it meant getting our asses kicked, Rodney and I, we used to talk for hours in the car about this. We'd sit there, we'd pack a dip, talk in the car, and just drive to the next city. How can we get better? How can we get this? We got to get, we knew we're not stupid. So we had to earn this respect in one way or another. And the only way, we couldn't then go to do indies and earn the respect the hard way. We were already involved. So there's only one way to get like I said, Bradshaw said, once he hit me with that chair and I went back, I earned his respect. That's how we had to earn respect in the business. And maybe the whole Void thing, maybe once that respect was earned, and because in the back of our minds, we knew that we were there because of the McMahons and because of, we thought because of Shane, but you're telling me it was you guys that, which I can't thank you enough. But it's one thing about being there and one thing about earning that, and part of me wanted, like I said, I'll be pissed if I read after this thing airs that, Pete Gas thinks he could still do it, blah, blah, blah. No. Do I think I can do it? Yeah, I do think I can do it. But the point, I'm 45 years old. It'd be a poor career move. I'm going to leave a great paying job now. Would I do it though? Yeah, I probably would. I'm not going to lie. I probably would. Yeah. I'd take the shot. But, listen, I just, there is a void. It's something that I feel like I need to prove, but it's not going to happen.
And Pete, I'm feeling the same void for different reasons. But, bro, I got to tell you this, man. Pete, I do a lot of podcasting now, and part of the thing I was doing was, I was reviewing Raw. After Mondays, I was reviewing it on Tuesdays. But, bro, I'm just being totally honest with you. Number one, it's very, very hard to sit there and watch for three hours. And number two, bro, I don't want, I'm comparing everything to what we did. I know what wrestling can be. Right. So, I wound up being very, very critical of it. So I got to the point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I don't get off on being negative on the WWE. It's hard to sit there for 3 hours. I can't do this anymore. So what I decided to do was go back and watch the Attitude Era and kind of do director's cuts of the shows. Now, Pete, I have not watched these shows in 15 years. I watched them when we taped them. That's it. I never went back and watched them again. So what I'm telling you is, bro, I haven't gotten to the part of the posse yet.
Yeah.
You think you're hearing it from me now? When I go back and revisit that 15 years later, bro, I'm going to call you back and tell you that you are freaking nuts and out of your mind. And I'm going to recommend that you go back and you watch some of that footage because I know that's what's going to happen. Because I know in my mind, I remember 15 years ago as how great it was. When I watch it now, compared to what we're getting, I can't wait to talk to you after that, bro.
All right. Hey, I got to you'll never remember this because you were so involved. So back in the day when we were doing Raw Monday nights live, Tuesday night we were filming for the following Monday. It was a Tuesday night. The show was over, and we were doing tapes to put in for the segments for we're doing some speaking stuff backstage, and you were directing this one spot, and I kept screwing up my lines. But it was the first time I ever had to really do this, first time, and I screwed up, and I see it in your face. You start, first couple times it was funny, third time you're starting to get pissed, and I vowed to that day that I'd never do that again, and knock on wood, I never did it again.
See, I should make you cut a promo right now and see if I approve of it or not. That's the real test. Hey, Pete, I'm going to ask you a question, bro. I'm going to ask you a question because obviously, if I would have stayed there, we would have went here. Okay, I know we would have. If it would have eventually came to see, I mean, with me, I know how I write. The breakdown would have came within the posse, and to me, the money would have been you against Rodney. I mean, that would have been the money. That would have been the way to get you guys over. Not this guy's going to Puerto Rico, this guy's going to Timbuktu. No, they're right there on the show. They've been buddies their whole lives. The money is, and that's how you make the baby face and the heel. Right. How would you have booked that, bro?
How would I have booked it?
Yes.
You know I was a babyface.
Yeah, and you would have gone over, right? 1, 2, 3, right in the middle, gone over on Rodney.
Clean.
Yeah. Well, bro, I gotta tell you, I have to do this, and I'm gonna listen. I gotta go back. I'm gonna watch because I'm getting to the point now where the posse's gonna come into play. Okay. And I'm gonna watch this again, and I'm gonna freaking mark it, bro. What happens when I'm watching this is I wind up getting tears in my eyes. I'm going to be honest with you. And the reason why I do, Pete, is because it was so good. You know, it was just so good. And everybody there belonged. Everybody was in the right spot. I mean, I get emotional over it. But I have to do this. And the next time I got to bring the both of you guys on this together.
I'd love it.
Yeah, because...
But, excuse me. When you look at those storylines, though, because I've watched the shows... there was substance with every storyline. There was a story, there was something going on. It wasn't just, the next segment wasn't just two guys to wrestle. And there was actually, one guy. So one guy's mad at another guy. I was watching the show last night, and they're trying to develop the stories and trying to get it going. The storylines actually had some kind of substance. Now I don't know if it's whether or not it's because you had Sunday Night Heat to develop them as well, and in Jacked and the other shows, but I don't know.
I'll tell you exactly what it is, Pete. I tell people this all the time. Okay, there are writers and there are bookers. Okay, and before Ed and I came into play, the territories were always booked by bookers. Well, let's face it, the bookers are usually former wrestlers. Okay, so what a booker is always looking at is wrestling first. Okay. What a writer is always looking at is television first, the story first, the characters first. So a booker is always looking at, okay, what's the best match? What two guys, if we put them together, are going to have a great match? They're looking at the match because that's what they used to do. Vince McMahon, Pete, I'm sorry, he's 70 now. In this day and age, Vince is still calling the shots. He still looks at it from a wrestling perspective. So what bookers do is they have the match first with two guys that have good chemistry and are going to have a great match, and then they try to work some story out of it. With writers, it's the complete opposite. With writers, we look at our characters. What characters would have great stories with other characters, and then through the characters and the storylines, you develop the match that means something. So do you see how simple it is to take a Pete Gas and a Rodney, and on the other side, you got Patterson and Briscoe? You see how easy that is? Bro, we're not putting that together because of the quality of the match. Right. You know what I mean? And what happens at the end of the day? At the end of the day, that angle beats two of the greatest legends in the history of the business in Savage and Hogan.
Great point.
You see what I'm saying? Right. But I think what happened was, I think when Ed and I left, I think bookers went back to booking the show. So rather than evolve it like television, I think they kind of took steps back, and a lot of it is like, wrestling 101 again. And, bro, this is 2015, man. Look at what's on television now, Pete. You can't insult the intelligence of the audience. Right.
Let me ask you this. I'm just throwing it out there because someone brought it up to me, and I thought, if you brought back, I know Vince is trying to sell out AT&T Stadium and beat WrestleMania 3 with all the guys that he's missing due to injury. Seth Rollins, Yeah, I mean, Randy Orton's got a shoulder injury. Probably will be back by then. But will there be a storyline there developed to help that? His storyline help sell seats for WrestleMania or buy rights or buys. What do you do? Like, I feel bad for them almost at this point because right now there's nothing developed. Is Ryback going to really fill the seats?
But that's the problem. That's the problem, Pete. They're not making stars. Nobody's over because they're not getting anybody over. I mean, so that's on them. Whereas, again, back in the day, I hate saying that I sound like I'm 100, but if somebody get hurt, there was somebody right there to sit, bro, I just finished watching WrestleMania 14. Mm-hmm. That was Shawn's last match. Now, because we knew that in the back of our mind, what were we doing? Grooming Hunter. Because we knew, take Shawn out, put Hunter in. But they're not getting anybody over because, Pete, it kind of goes back to what we're saying. You can't put two guys in a freaking ring and think they're going to tear the house down and have a great match and the wrestling alone is going to get them over. Right. It's not, bro. You guys were so over. You guys being over had nothing to do with your wrestling. It was these rich snob kids with chips on their shoulders, and everybody wanted to see you get your butts kicked. That was the emotional attachment. Not that, Patterson and Briscoe and the Mean Street Posse are going to tear the house down. Come on.
True or false? The Mean Street Posse, I heard this was a character taking a spin-off of the Socs from The Outsiders.
The who?
Remember the movie The Outsiders?
Yes.
The Socs, the preppy guys?
Absolutely not, because I don't even remember that. Absolutely not.
Chris Chambers told me that.
Maybe that was the vision of TV, but from writing on a week-to-week basis, I didn't even know.
No, I don't believe. I think the initial character.
Maybe. Okay. But I mean, like I said, bro, and again, I just want to make this clear. The first time I saw this, you and Rodney had distinctive, different personalities and different looks. And I just sat there and I'm like, these guys are money. I mean, really, that's what I said. And the beautiful part about it was you came on TV and you were yourselves. Yeah. You did not change. We did not try to make you something you weren't. And it was freaking phenomenal, bro.
Well, the funny thing about it was when the whole story behind it, we're called into Shane's office on a Friday. We used to work out at Titan Tower at the gym. We go to the, go into his office. He says, hey, I need you guys to do me a favor. He said, what are you guys doing Sunday? We said, nothing. He goes, okay, I want you to dress real preppy. Sweater vests, collared shirts, the whole thing. And he went and took a piece of paper, and he goes, here's the script. And he went, ripped it up. Swear to God, ripped it up and said, I want you're going to meet Chris Chambers at 10 a.m. Sunday morning. Talk about how we used to get in fights, go breaking mailboxes, being assholes.
Yeah.
Just doing the stuff that we used to do.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Chris Chambers is going to cut it up. He goes, you're going to be on TV the following night. So we went, Rodney came to my house at 8 a.m. We each drank a 12-pack of beer. So when you come, you can kind of see the redness of because we were nervous as hell.
Right.
He got in front of the camera. We told his stories, and then he cut it up, and sure enough, that's what happened. But, that whole business, the way it was, we were, to an extent, ourselves, but we didn't have money. My father was a plumber. Rodney's dad still those days does upholstery work.
Right.
That's the only part that wasn't. Everything else was us, and we just threw ourselves around and just tried to put over the best we could.
And that's the thing, bro, from what I'm hearing today with the WWE, like everybody is scripted and they're so freaking rigid and they can't go out of the material that they're given. So what you're going to have at the end of the day is, guess what, bro? Everybody's going to be the same.
Right.
Whereas if I let Pete Gas go, there can never be another Pete Gas. If we let Rodney go, there can never ever be another Rodney. But again, that has changed over the years where, here's the script. This is what you're reading. And now you're so limited. You got no personality. Everything's in the box. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, back then we were told key points. Hit this point, and this point, and say it in the way you would say it.
Yeah.
And that's the way we did it.
Yeah, this is what you got to. Obviously, you got to get the match over. This is what you got to get over, but get it over like you'd get it over.
Right. And then when I came back for I was involved in the 15-year reunion. I couldn't believe they had us practicing our walk going down the ramp and what we were going to do. So, the Mean Street Posse we used to do this.
Yeah.
I had to walk from behind the curtain and do that. And I don't know if it was for camera, for whatever reason it was. And then I had heard, I remember just, you know how it is before the doors open. There's guys in the ring working on stuff, standing outside. Some guys just sit in the arena where the crowd sits and just, whatever, talk or whatever. And I remember just sitting there with Lance Cade. And I was like, wow, it's a lot different than it used to be.
Yeah.
And I'm watching guys not go over moves, but literally having a script, and it was verbatim. But I had heard they had gone away from that and went back to the old ways. Is that not true?
I don't know, bro. I mean, I don't know how it works up there. I haven't been there for so long. Yeah. But, I mean, the emphasis is clearly on the match. There's no question about that. Hey, bro, I got to ask you a question. Do you said you're 45 now?
Yeah.
Is that all still jet black? You got any gray anywhere?
Yeah, I got some grays right here. Right here, I got a couple.
But that's it, though, huh, bro?
Oh, fuck.
Bro, what the heck happened to me? Look at this, bro. I'm Santa. I'm Santa, bro.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't. My mother's like that too. My mother. I don't have any grays yet or anything. Shane's white. I don't know if you've seen Shane.
I have. Oh, that would be something to see. Is he really, bro?
White.
Oh my, that would be something to see. Do you get to see him often, bro?
I don't see him as much as I'd like.
Yeah.
In fact, he called me last Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. I was running some errands and I saw it was him. So I was like, usually I'll call him or he'll call me, but he called me last Wednesday to wish me, happy Thanksgiving. And he was telling me that, he was having a big thing at the house. He has a house out in the Hamptons. And he said, big family thing coming out there. But, we talk, I think we talk, he and I talk for about a half hour from time to time. And we keep talking about getting together and, going out to dinner and stuff. And we're supposed to go do dinner. He and Marissa and my wife and I, the four of us go out for dinner one night in the city. So hopefully we'll do that soon.
Well, bro, definitely. When you see him, send him my love, man. I miss the hell out of him. What a great human being he was, bro.
Yeah, he's definitely a very likable person. I mean, the McMahon family. I don't know if you feel differently. Maybe because I grew up with them. Whatever, people have their own. The best compliment I can give that family is, and I've said this a million times in interviews, and with all the money they have, you'd never know it.
Yeah, yeah.
They're good people. There's this whole persona of Vince and he's just that family. I love that family.
Yeah, no, they are a great family, bro. I would never, I had not the relationship you had, but I was pretty close to Vince at one point, and you got to break down some of the barriers and kind of see, and bro, I'll be honest with you. Some of those barriers, quite honestly, from a third party looking on, he was tough on Shane. He was just, I saw it, bro. I saw it. So, of course, when I heard about Shane going a separate way, it's like, it is that big shock that, oh, my God, Shane McMahon is not going to be running the WWE one day. But then again, somebody like me who was kind of on the inside and I saw it wasn't that much of a shock. That was a tough spot for Shane. Let me put it that way.
You got to remember, Shane. This. Shane, as growing up, and I talked about this recently. In the summertime, he would work in a different department. Mm-hmm. Stephanie did the same thing. Stephanie was more of an office person. She did different departments, but Shane would, he'd work in the warehouse one summer,
You know, there's a summer where he'd be on the road, you know, setting up the ring. He'd get some refereeing. You know, they were being groomed. You know, it's a very close-knit family, very tight family, and you know, Shane always, you know, Shane's love for that business, and all the older guys. Like I've gone to some autograph appearances, you know, some conventions and stuff. You know, you hang out with the Nasty Boys, and right away they're like, let's call Shane. You know, and then they would tell me stories how that, you know, Vince used to get mad when he used to ride with the Nasty Boy because they would drink up a storm, and he, you know, and then I saw Bubba Ray and Devon. Shane was riding with them for a while, and you know, there was a whole persona that, you know, like Shane. Everyone loved Shane. Yeah. Shane was one of the boys, and maybe that was a fault of his, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, bro, you gotta look at it too, bro, because I saw a lot of this too. Because when you talk about working for different departments, bro, Stephanie was sitting in on creative for a while, you know. But bro, I gotta tell you this: as a father, bro, a father is just not going to treat his sons and his daughter the same. You're just not going to, bro. You're always going to be a lot easier on the daughter. It's a fatherly thing. Right. So it's like, you know, so like I said, when I, you know, now, you know, taking a step back, and bro, I know what kind of a guy Shane is. Do you remember a guy at the WWE? I don't know if you remember or not. Remember his name was Jim Monsees? Remember Jim? Yeah. Bro, Shane was his boss. Yeah. So like I know, and me and Jimmy were like brothers. Right. So I know directly what a great guy Shane was through Jimmy. I mean, this was his boss. He interacted with him every day. But, you know, I mean, bro, but I also saw, you know, the way Shane was treated, the way Stephanie was treated, which, like I said, bro, a father is going to treat a son and a daughter differently. It's just the makeup. And, you know, I mean, it is what it is. But you always knew, you know, Shane was going to succeed at whatever it is he wanted to succeed at.
You know, like for a while there, Shane, when we first started going on the road, Shane was driving with us. It was like old times. Like we were kids again, you know, in the car, breaking each other's balls, having a blast. And then Vince pulled him out of the, you know, basically not pulled him out, but like say, hey, you know, don't ride with them anymore. You don't want to see favoritism. So they really didn't show us a lot of favoritism either. In fact, Vince really, I just thought of a story that just made me feel really good. It was the Briscoe-Patterson match. So we never really got any compliments from Vince, never good jobs, anything like that. I've heard Vince actually said it, and I understand why, because they did not want to show us favoritism in any way. I know one time Shane jumped off the cage when he was with Test. He was fighting against us. Shane did a crossbody, and Joey Abs and I caught him. We went backstage, and Vince just turned to me and like put his glasses down and said, "Nice catch." Yeah. I was like, I just didn't, you know. But the one time specifically was the whole ratings came out for the Briscoe-Patterson, and we were driving. Rodney and I were in a separate car. And we were driving I think we were driving home. Yeah, we were driving home because that was Monday Night Raw. We did Tuesday. We were driving, and I guess the ratings had come out for Monday. Something, whatever the scenario was. And it was Shane. And he said, hey, he goes, good stuff tonight, you know, whatever. He goes, hey, someone wants to talk to you. And it was Vince. And Vince basically said, he goes, great job, basically about the Briscoe-Patterson match. And he says, I want you guys to know you're the highest rated segment in wrestling history or cable history, whatever it was. And he goes, I'm really proud of you guys, and thank you. That's in my brain forever. That's why for me it was like that's what Rodney and I we were so set on. We got to do this. We got to do this for the McMahons. Mm-hmm. We never even thought of us. That's why I'm saying we never expected a paycheck. When we get handed a check, it's like, we get paid for this? Yeah, that's great, really? Man. That's great. Yeah. So for us, I mean, that's just. But it's so funny, bro. You telling that story, Pete, and like, you know, again, here we are 15 years later, and it's like all the emphasis has somehow, some way shifted to the in-ring work. It's almost like,
I wish Vince remember had that conversation he had with you. You know what I'm saying, bro? And realize, my God, that was probably the worst match we could have booked.
Yeah.
And it got the highest rating on the show. I just wish sometimes he'd remember, but.
One more thing I wanted to talk to you about. The very fact, the way you put it in perspective, that it was Hogan versus Macho Man versus the Posse and the Stooges, and how we went over on them. And the very fact that it's wrestling versus entertainment, the two things, that's huge. That's a point that more people should know about that point, because that's, I know we talk about it. I never heard it from that perspective. And that being said, that's like, that should click in someone's head.
Well, Pete, you want to know what really makes no sense? You want to know what really makes no sense, bro? This is where the only rationale I could make is these guys are too close to it. They're doing it every single week. They're caught up in it. Nobody's taking the time to take a step back and say, wait a minute.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's how I rationalize it. Because, Pete, here's something that makes totally no sense, okay? Bro, when you were wrestling, we all know the WWE owned pay-per-view. Owned it, okay, bro?
Right.
Obviously, during the years, UFC has taken that market.
Sure.
Okay, that's a fact, though. Okay, so now, bro, the reason why they've taken over that market is because basically what it comes down to is, why would people pay to see a fake fight when they could pay to see a real one? And if UFC was so they started giving their money to UFC. Okay, with that being said, bro, wrestling has one of two choices at that point. Are we going to concentrate more on the fake fight when UFC is fighting for real, and we lost a lot of our audience to that? Are we going to put our emphasis on a fake fight and try to compete with the real fight, or are we going to put our emphasis on what brought us to the dance and what separates us from everybody else, and that's entertainment and story? But, bro, they went the way of the fight. The emphasis is on the fight. I sit back and I look at that and I'm like, somebody needs to explain to me how that makes any sense whatsoever. I mean, Pete, you go back to when you were watching, you said about 9 years old. Bro, I'm the same thing. I go back to 72, 73. You know, the Valiant Brothers and Lou Albano and Ernie Ladd and Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, and through the years of WrestleMania.
Right.
It was characters and story. Somewhere along the line, we decided, okay, we're going to have longer wrestling matches. These guys are going to, train for years, and we're going to try to convince people the fight's real. The only rationale I could is they're too close to it. They're not seeing the obvious. That's the only thing I could say.
Well, I mean, it seems like every Raw opens up with, and it did back when we were there, with verbiage. But it seems like it's almost the same first segment, just worded differently. And then, listen, like I said, I love the McMahons. I don't have any axe to grind, none of that. I would do anything for them. Just right now, it's just kind of a tough spot.
But, Pete, you know what that is too, bro? See, and again, a lot of these problems, they create themselves. Pete, going back and watching the Attitude Era now, and watching Vince open the show, Pete, nobody's going to get better than that.
Right.
That was it, bro. His bar.
That one.
Who?
Shane McMahon.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, right.
What if they brought Shane back?
Oh, absolutely. But that's the thing, bro. Anybody, all due respect to Triple H and Stephanie, all due respect. Yeah. The problem is, bro, they say the same things every week. With Vince, every show was a different performance.
Right.
It was incredible, and you're not going to top that. So with that being said, everything's going to pale in comparison. But bro, we can go on all day. But anyway, Pete, listen, man, I'm so glad we had this talk, bro. I really, really enjoyed it, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And listen, I got to thank you because I was always under the impression I didn't know you played a major role in that. So if it wasn't for you, my life would be a lot more different right now. So
well, Pete, I want to point out, and I want to make this clear again, please. The reason why I kind of put that over as strongly as I did was because I really want you to understand. It had nothing to do with, Shane's your buddy. Shane's going to get you on TV. This was a total outsider that had never seen you guys before, that was writing the show, and I saw what Chambers and those guys did, and I was like, this is a no-brainer. So like that's why it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with that. I just want you to understand. I didn't know you from Adam, but and again, bro, to be able to come in and pull that off, that's incredible, bro. And you need to know and understand that, because, bro, there are people that trained for years and years. Bro, there were people on the TNA roster for 10 years that couldn't get themselves over. 10 freaking years. Bro, you guys got yourself over in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, but again, that goes kind of where, where people see that. It goes back to what we were saying about before with that void, where people say, oh, well, the only reason why they're there, though, is because of the relationship. But yes, that's true. I agree with the reason why we were there is because of our relationship with Shane and getting that opportunity. But it was very easy for it to be 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
To make it almost 3 years or whatever it was, that is saying something, and it's not, listen, if the product sucked, Vince, you guys would never have it on the air. It'd be
Bro,
gone.
do you know how many things I saw Vince McMahon kill after 1 week?
Yeah.
Bro, trust me, he is not going to put anything on his air that he doesn't think is entertaining and over. And it could have been over just like that. I mean, there's no question about it. But you need to know and understand that.
No, I do. I understand it. I appreciate it. It just, again, it's always... You always wonder where it could have went after that.
Yeah. You're always going to, bro, in anything you do, Yeah. Well, Pete, listen, man, I'm going to sign off, but I want you to hold on because I want to give you a personal thank you. But everybody, there you have it, the great Pete Gass, and I hope to bring him and Rodney on after my memory gets refreshed with some of the antics of the Mean Street Posse. But, Pete, again, thank you so much for joining us today. And I will be back here next week with another episode of The Swerve. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Critically acclaimed producers Kayfabe Commentaries bring you the most candid shoot interview ever with Sabu, nephew of the legendary Sheik.
Would your aunt be talking business
Of course.
with the Sheik?
Oh, yeah. And Carney. She can speak Carney better than me.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Prepare to explore the darkest corners of the man behind Sabu.
I would have stopped pain pills entirely if I was out of pain. Because I've been a little too long at the dance myself.
You feel now you've been too long at the dance.
Breaking Kayfabe with Terry Sabu Brunk, now available on DVD and on demand at shootinterviews.com.